You may ask me for anything in my name and I will do it. And in Matthew 17 he says, if your child asks his father for a fish, will he give him a snake? Okay. This is Butch. He's the best loved cat ever. He was, I was there when he was born, and I fell instantly in love with him, and it's something in my spirit that just flew when I saw him. I didn't know what that was. I was an atheist and I was indifferent to all that spiritual stuff. I was a hard-nosed, science-loving Sheila. But I loved Butchie. But, of course, no one else cares because he was my cat, and not everybody loves cats. And they all have their own passions. But I did love Butchie, and I know that he was a gift from God because God used that cat. He used that cat to keep me alive and preserve my life by giving me a reason to live when I couldn't find any other reason to live. And I was going through some periods of black depression before I found Jesus. And so when I had no other reason to live, I kept living because I couldn't leave that cat behind. That's all part of a much longer backstory anyway. I'm going to speed that. But I want to explain how the Lord performed a healing miracle on Butch, which contributed to my very slow and circuitous journey to a deeper faith in God, a deeper relationship with God I once denied. After I made the decision to believe in God, I was quite determined to know what the truth about Jesus was, and I wanted the evidence for his existence, the real history of the church, the nitty-gritty of it all. I had a Bible, a King James version that I'd been given when I was a kid, but I disregarded it because it was incomprehensible, and frankly I thought it was full of superstition and fairy tales. So I bought a few books about biblical archaeology and the Dead Sea Scrolls and the sayings of Jesus, and none of them got read. But I had tried praying, and things started to happen that were what I had been praying about, and that piqued my interest enough to make me gather up my courage and start going to church. And I began to grow spiritually and feeling more drawn all the time to know more about Jesus. And eventually I did start to read that book about all the sayings of Jesus, that little book. Now, a couple of years earlier, Butchie had developed an ulcer on his nose, and we weren't sure. The vet thought it might have been a sun cancer or a rodent ulcer. And if you want to know what they are, Google them, they're not pretty. But they didn't make a firm diagnosis. They just said bathe it with salt water and put some cream on. I've got some cream from the vet. But slowly the ulcer just got worse until it was quite a deep crater, and it was scaring the daylights out of me. This was still a worry when I was growing in my faith, but it didn't occur to me to try praying about him because no one cares about a cat. Why would God care about a cat? He was my worry, but he wasn't God's worry. But then I was reading that book, and I read the bit that Jesus said about if you ask anything in his name, you'll get it. And if your kid asked you for a fish, you wouldn't give him a snake. And then I remembered that one of the things Jesus did was change water into wine, just because they'd run out of it at the wedding. And I thought, I could pray for Butchie's nose, couldn't hurt. So I leapt up and I got Butch in my arms, and that wasn't a popular move because if you know anything about cats, they don't like being held. So I prayed ardently over him until I couldn't hold on anymore. His panicked struggling was stronger than I was. And I put him down and I went to bed and I forgot about it. And the next day I was really busy and didn't have time to do anything except work and go to church. And so it wasn't until the day after that I thought, oh, I haven't put any cream on Butcher's nose, I better do that. And I picked him up to put the cream on, and here was this huge ulcer had gone. It was all healed up. There was just a bit of bare skin where the fur hadn't healed back yet, hadn't grown back yet. And I got quite sweaty and unsteady, and I sat down. I was in shock. And that was a miracle. And if you're a skeptic about these things like I once was, you might shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, it was probably already healing, or you might have imagined it. But no, I'm here to tell you that that cat had a crater of about 3 millimetres deep on his nose on Sunday, and had done for 2 years, but on Tuesday it was healed. And the only thing I'd done differently was pray. I had taken a step of faith and asked God to get on the problem, and this was the result. Now, I've asked God for many things since, healing and blessing and all sorts of things, and not always got the requested outcome, but many, many times I did. But that day when he healed Butchie's nose, God didn't just do a miracle on the cat, he did a miracle in my heart. He showed me inarguable evidence that he was real. My shock wasn't just because my beautiful boy's nose was healed, but because I suddenly knew it was all true. God was real, Jesus really did live and die and rose again. And he loved me, and he cared about what I cared about, and he bent his ear to hear me. And he loves me. He loves me. In the Bible, Job declares in Job 13:15, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. Like Job, I had been through some stuff, and I was about to go through some more. But the miracle of Butchie's nose was the moment for me when I realised that the God of the universe, whose hands had hung the stars, had also formed me in my mother's womb because he loved me and he wanted me to love him back. And he won me that day forever. No matter what troubles come my way, I'm going to stick with God and believe that when I pray, he loves me and he listens. So I'm here to tell you that if you think your problems are too trivial to worry God about, think again. He loves you, God cares, and a prayer is all that's required. James 5:14-15 says, is any one of you sick? He should call the elders he should call the elders of the church to pray over him and anoint him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise him up.